Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. And you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and I learned that thing couldn't take biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Let's get hot in 3, 2.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show can also be found and viewed at Martin Houston Live on Facebook and YouTube under the same name. Also at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter and Tide 109 on Facebook. We're live, local, and ready to go, encouraging you to join us in the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904, the Taco Casa. Hey, Joe, you don't have to just tell me right before we go on air to remember that it's Alabama 1, but the Alabama 1 hotline is open for business. Alabama 1 is definitely a big part of the show, big part of the program. They make it possible for us to interact with you over the phone lines. Once again, that's the Alabama 1 hotline. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone. Be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, Joe. How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing great so far, Martin. Ready to see what the day has in store for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a great opportunity for us to talk more Alabama football. Of course, continue to break down the spring game, that conversation that covers for a couple weeks. And then, of course, we'll talk about the portal right up until next week or so. And then, of course, we'll talk about the portal even more because it's already begun. Are the floodgates going to open even further? We had been talking about who may be the first one to go into the portal. I don't know if any of us thought about Stephen Nguyen Jr., veteran reserve defensive lineman, but no surprise there. That is definitely a deep group in terms of this particular defense, and so not surprised that he is gone. Former IMG guy, top recruit, just couldn't break into that starting rotation, and based on what we've seen and heard, and got a little preview into, he may have fallen even further down the depth chart. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the transfer portal as a whole and the impact the transfer portal has had on Alabama from a quantity standpoint. There's transfer portal impact to me in quantity and quality, and we'll talk about what that means right here with Joe and you, if you want to get in on the conversation, because it's not always. Nick Saban. I go back to a couple things Nick Saban said. He warned everybody about this portal, much like he warned everyone about, do you want to play hurry up football? Do you want to keep making rules that's going to make the offense so explosive and give all advantages to the offense? He warned everybody about it. And so, it's not that everybody makes it sound like Nick Saban is taking advantage of everybody, Joe, if you hear the conversation out there. But in reality, Nick Saban is not gone for quantity in the portal. He's gone for quality. And we want to talk about that, the number of guys um, with what's going on with the Alabama transfer portal, and we're going to do a little deal, no deal, tied in with that, and a couple other things in terms of the big time transfer ins versus outs, and the impact it can have on your team. So we'll talk about that. If you got something you want to bring up on that, please open up um, the phone lines by calling the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904. And of course, later on in the program, we'll talk about recruiting with Hank South 247 Sports. And with that note, we got some big news about a local kid making a decision, narrowing things down, and so we'll talk about that particular decision and the impact there, and we'll talk about it locally, but as well with Hank South and what that means. Well, Joe, this transfer portal. Any surprises from that the Alabama football team lost Stephen Nguyen into the portal yesterday?
Oh, I mean, Martin, I wasn't exactly pegging him as someone I picked to join the portal, but if you had to guess, you probably are going to start with your defensive line as how loaded it is. The defensive line, the wide receiver group, and probably the defensive backs are probably your three positions, in my opinion, that you're most worried about guys going into the portal. And Stephen Wynn, I mean, what kind of playing time was he really getting? In his past, and what could he get in the future? I think it makes sense for him to probably take a chance on going somewhere else.
Yeah, when you think about it, Joe, and you're probably right. I mean, that's a good conversation if you were picking and prioritizing uh, not people but positions. Um, the defensive side of the ball, the defensive front seven potential probably is probably your highest potential position. Normally, you would think quarterback, right? Just because only one guy can play. But I feel like that's probably one of our most secure positions in terms of transferring in or out. If you look at it right now, would you agree with that? That quarterback probably is our most like locked in, least likely to have a transfer out. If you look at the team as a whole,
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I think that obviously Bryce isn't going anywhere, and I don't
right?
think Ty Simpson is either. The only candidate might be Jalen Milrow, and I think Jalen performed pretty well in the spring game, so well that didn't Bill O'Brien say that he's locked in that number two role. So I
Yeah.
think he's probably going to be settled in because all it takes is one snap, and he's going to be in there for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, and then of course everybody, barring some type of miracle for Alabama's sake, Bryce Young is out of here, and where we may all be thinking, Arch Manning, if he commits here, is going to come in and be handed the job. Players don't have that mindset. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing at Alabama, you don't have the mindset. It may pan out that that's the case, but you don't have the mindset that some high school kid is going to come in and take your job. Um, and that's probably like a scab for me, Joe. Um, I had played behind Kevin Turner for 3 years, and of course Kevin Turner had played in every game with exception like one or two for 4 years. And I remember the recruiting guys at that time, Forrest Gregg, and of course Paul Feinbaum was one of them. Joe, they made the statement like, uh, Alabama, they are going to have a pretty good team, but I don't know where they're going to go for fullback. And there was some kid named Tim Watts, was his name, and he was, I think, it was out of Selma, and then so that gave him the job. And so, you know what it did for me in the off season when I kept hearing that? I had probably my best off season because I'm like, uh, I was already motivated, but it gave me the extra boost. And so I look at a Jalen Milrow. he believes in himself and his ability. If anything, we have a better Jalen Monroe because of all this Arch Manning conversation. So, without a doubt, what would you say? Defensive. I kind of put the defensive line and front seven. I would say outside linebacker may be number one. Would you potentially agree with that? That outside linebacker room is pretty deep too, with the first three guys are so solid, but also I think you have some other young guys that are talented, but man, they may not get on the field.
Yeah, Martin, I definitely agree that outside linebacker probably is the deepest position on the team with Anderson, Braswell, and Turner. But past that, DeMoy Kennedy looked good in the scrimmage. Jeremiah Alexander looked good in the scrimmage. You got a lot of guys. Jahad Campbell played in the scrimmage as well. So you got a lot of guys behind them that I think really are going to be viable options in the future.
Yeah, and then and that's even forgetting about the guys who were in between that aren't bad players like Kenny Colt. You had Quindarius Robinson, Ian Jackson. I mean, there's so many guys. So yeah, that position, I would not be surprised if one of them jumped ship at some point during this off season. And then of course DBs, we have so many DBs I think that are quality. I could see them jumping in there. Outside of those guys, what position you think may be next up on the list? Could it be, if there's no answer that from this point, Joe? If we don't get any more transfers in, what position do you think is next?
If we don't get any transfers in, I think I think I'm worried about defensive back the most because
Okay.
I really like what you got at the top end position, but I think you have a log jam behind the starters in the defensive backfield, corners and safeties alike. So I
Yeah.
think if I had to place a bet and had to make a decision, I'd say the defensive backs are who I'd be worried about.
Yeah, put these numbers right beside each other. Not that they've done anything to tell you that, but they were all really good players. Christian Story, number 11, number 12, number 13 would be jumping up on that list. Christian Story, Terry and Arnold, Malachi Moore, right there, just jump off the page as what these guys are going to do. Then there's Jaquan Robinson. We haven't heard much about the DB Devontae Smith. In terms of what he may do as well. So that's an interesting. I would say offensive line potentially because of Tyler Steen coming in. I'm watching the Brockermeyer brothers, Joe, as potential guys because they came in with so much hype and hoopla. And where have so many of our other guys been going? Texas, right? Uh, and they're a Texas legacy. Uh, don't be surprised if Sarkisian doesn't grab two more Alabama players this year and or next from the portal. So, and then if Harrell comes in, I would say potentially a wide receiver maybe jump in the portal. Any closing thoughts on that before we get to break in terms of the wide receiver and or offensive line?
Well, I've been watching some tape on Tyler Steve Martin, and I got to send you some and get your opinion on it. I'm not quite sure that he's going to be the fix that we're all hoping for. We can get into that down the line, and I think I have similar opinions on Tyler Harrell as well. So I'm hoping that none of the wide receivers jump in the transfer portal. I hope they have some patience and really some resiliency. But I'm concerned. I am concerned that Coach Saban. Maybe going out and getting too many roster band-aids instead of just developing from within. But obviously, as we all say, in Saban we trust. So I'm going to sit back and watch Coach Saban manage his roster and then manage the portal and see what happens when we open camp in the fall.
Yeah, and I'm not convinced that Tyler Steen is going to be the answer at left tackle. I think he may be good enough with his veteran experience, Joe, and I think that's what you're seeing. Was he left tackle because he was at Vanderbilt? Would he have always been a guard at Alabama? I'm going to tell you the most impressive offensive lineman outside of Evan Neal that I like on Alabama's roster the last few years is Cohen. And I think I would trust my commodity, my most valuable asset being protected by seeing if he could play that left tackle before I would move in with any of the guys I've seen so far. But hey, listen, and they may be doing that. They may be bringing Steen in for the ability to move him out. Who knows? We'll see and keep a check on that. And then to your point about Harrell, I think Harrell can help Alabama, but I don't think Harrell is Jamison Williams. And we'll see what happens with that. Hey, the phone lines are open. If you call, we'll get to you on the other side of the break. We also have recruiting coming up. Got a lot to get to. Hey, listen, like we do on this show each and every day, we start off with our agenda and our plan and our itinerary, but we will flow with where the conversation goes. So you're welcome to bring it 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything looking pretty good as we start our Thursday morning. Of course, if you do see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. Nobody does it like Townsend Nissan. They're fair, fast, with a fun, family environment. They do it right. Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
In a collision, easy decision. Make one call to one name, Mesrano, 206-6300. No representation with the Quantic Legal Services to be performed. Take care of the Quantic Legal Services performed by otherwise.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They've got the big brands you know and trust. Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East, in Northport on Lorraine Wallace Boulevard. Check out the website, TuscaloosaTireandService.com.
COVID-19 has disrupted our lives, but it won't have the last word. We will. Across Alabama, thousands are getting vaccinated to protect themselves and others. Find out where you can get the COVID vaccine today at alabamaunites.com. Please get vaccinated. If you have symptoms, also get tested for COVID-19. Alabama Unites Against COVID. Sponsored by the ADPH, the ABA, and this station.
This is Fogelman, ready to hustle for that muscle.
Membership numbers at Sly's Gym have been racking up.
22 people have signed up for 6 a.m. buns of steel.
Now he needs more certified trainers to do all the heavy lifting.
I'm going to have to bulk up my staff.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The warming trend continues today. Partly to mostly sunny, the high at 82. For tonight, fair with the low at 59. Tomorrow and Saturday, lots of sunshine both days. The high tomorrow 84, the high Saturday at 86 degrees. I'm James Spann of the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 60 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith at Sophomart Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit him online at sophmartdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904. Tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
I don't really change. I mean, I don't think it's my job to appease the players. Do you think I should appease the players?
Absolutely not.
I don't think so. I think it's up to the players to, buy into the principles and values of the organization and the standard. That's what's helped a lot of players have a chance to be successful in the past.
And I think that's one of the reasons that the players came to Alabama, was to try to be the best version of themselves, personally, academically, and athletically, and sort of follow the principles and values that has established a culture that gives them the best opportunity to do that.
As Coach Saban talking about, it's not his job to appease the players. And of course, Joe, you and I both have kind of hinted at, is it possible that Nick Saban could hurt recruiting by continuing to bring in ready-made players? Alabama, if you count walk-ons and scholarship players, have had 23 guys put their name in the portal. Not all have officially left, and I think 5 of those are walk-ons or something like that, like 18 scholarship players. But he's only brought in 4 players, but they're all like at need positions where if you went into the offseason, you thought you were going to be, that's going to be the spot that you earn. He filled that spot with a transfer. He's not worried about appeasing the players. Quick question before we get to Curtis Moore, Joe. I don't think we've really talked about this. Nick Saban has been, long before there was NIL, Nick Saban has been telling these players to brand themselves anyway. And so is that why Alabama had so much success, coming out of the NIL gate, because of that teaching on branding?
Well, Martin, we've heard Coach Saban. He gets in these concepts over 15 years, and he sticks with it for 2 or 3 years. You remember he was sticking to the process for a long time.
Right.
Well, lately, the last 2 or 3 years, it's been create value for yourself.
Yep.
Even before NIL.
Right.
And he said that. Going back to Jalen Hurts, he encouraged, go to Oklahoma. You'll create value for yourself there. So he's been ahead of the curve in really getting these players to understand how they create value, proper success athletically and academically, as well as taking care of their business in the community as well.
Yeah, and he's been putting things in place from teaching them how to interview and concepts and all that. So the guy just he no matter where you think you are, he always seems to be 1 or 2 steps ahead. Let's get to Curtis Moore. Curtis Moore, thanks for your patience. CM2, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, what's going on? Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Hey, going back to what y'all were saying about the offensive line thing, I do agree with y'all regarding the Steen deal. I just don't think he's the end all be all. I could be wrong, but I'm on the page with y'all regarding that. What I would like to see, and I know I'm not a coach or anything like that, I just kind of wish that Darian Dalcourt was just healthier right now, because I do believe at one of those guard spots, he would probably be one of the best 5 out there. I know he plays center, but you kick Joe, what's the name, Javion Cohan out there to the tackle spot. I think we would be good to go with Emil Effier and what's the name, Latham on the other side. But that's just my opinion, though. What do y'all think on that?
Joe, I'll let you go first, then I'll respond.
I'm sorry, Martin. I'm doing a little teaching back
there. Yeah, that's okay.
This question. I heard Tyler Steen.
I'll address it and then let you address it. I do think that there's some possibility that there's going to be some movement around. I'm not sure that Latham is settled at right tackle, number 1, and I easily could see Tyler Steen being the right tackle. I could see Dalcourt being the left guard and Cohen being the left tackle. I mean, I could see in McLaughlin and Ekiyor being the starting 5. I'm going to tell you, there is something to Tyler Steen having started for 3 years at Vanderbilt. He could come with us and be with us, and all of a sudden his game go to the next level because of who he's around, how the other guys around him play. So he could be even better and still be that left tackle, but I would not be surprised with some shuffling and Dalcourt ultimately being in there.
Absolutely, Martin. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I think that Javion Cohen might get bumped out to left tackle after Tyler Steen comes into the fold. I think Darren Dalcourt is a candidate for left guard. I think Steen is a candidate for left guard. I think that even bringing in Steen doesn't mean the offensive line is settled. I think we'll be playing with combinations probably up until we go to Austin.
Yeah, I agree. Agree. Which would be no different than normal to some degree. We even had it last year. CM2, you got anything else, man?
Just something real quick. I just wanted to let you know I was being nosy and looking at the G-Day tape, and that Eric Gilbert kid is looking really good, man. I do agree with you. I know you made a statement about Darnell Washington. I think, he might be going in the portal probably. And that would be good if we could pick him up because we do need depth at tight end. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, is the Tank Thompson to be on today?
Yes, we haven't heard otherwise, so we're expecting him to be on next. You got a question for us to ask him?
Yeah, just because I mentioned the Darnell Washington thing, I just wanted to, if you could ask him, does he have any intel maybe on that Darnell could transfer to us or go to portal or whatever,
Okay.
If he could, I mean, maybe he doesn't know anything, but
I will see. I know that there was talk of him going in the beginning, before, and he was hurt he was out all spring. And this Delp kid, DLP for Georgia, the Georgia fans, if you go to their message board, they're talking about him in the same way they talked about Brock Bowers last year. So if they got a Brock Bowers, they got Brock Bowers, Eric Gilbert, legit, and then if this Delp kid plays half as good as a freshman as Bowers did, Darnell Washington is going to be fourth from a receiving standpoint. May still be the best blocker, but I think he wants to show that he doesn't want to be like some of the guys we've seen that end up putting on 60 pounds and being a left tackle for the rest of their NFL career when they're built like him. And that's where he's headed, in my opinion. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. All right. Roll Tide, CM2. That's Curtis Moore II. Tom, you in with the Martin Houston Show. It's been a while, man. We were just talking about you the other day. Miss you. Where you been?
Well, listening.
Hi. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, I've been somewhere listening. I've been somewhere. You ever heard that?
No, not until then.
I wanted to ask you something. With all the talk NIL and everything, it's been going over in my mind. And I was going to see if you could tell me. NIL is, let me give you a hypothetical. You tell me if it's believable. Say you and Scotty Hawk formed an agency.
Yep.
And you had a bunch of conscientious ball players that wanted to go out and spread the gospel.
Yep.
And your agency facilitated in coordination with congregations in the area, say from actually statewide, and where these players that had a desire to spread the gospel and congregations had a desire to bring young successful athletes in to make talks to youth groups or even friends and work service and things like that. Would that be legal?
Yes. And don't be putting my business out on the street, Tom. Yes. Yes,
that's my mind running with the same lane.
That would be absolutely. If you've listened to my show, which I know you have, you've heard me say numerous times. That's probably one of the most frustrating parts of my Alabama career. Is that if this was going on when I was coming along, I would have built a brand that I would have been at a point when I graduated that would have been an opportunity in a business and a stream of income that could have supported my family. Tom, and to tell you how far things have come, I actually got turned in to the NCAA because I spoke at a church and they received a love offering. I went there not knowing if I'd get anything or a lot, and someone turned me in. There was an Auburn fan there, and I think he was one of the people who counted the money, and he turned me in because he said they gave me more than NCAA or a lot was allowed. So, yeah. Go figure, right? How much college football has changed? Yeah, but yeah, Tom, that would be something that would be done, and I hope to see that happen for young players with that desire and who have a message, uh, you know, a Christian message, a message of perseverance, whatever type of message, like Najee Harris' story. You know how many young people his story would have changed while he was going through that here at Alabama. So it's a lot of great opportunity. Thanks, we got to get to Hank Sappy. I'm glad to hear you. Glad to hear you've been listening, but more excited that you picked up the phone and called us.
I called the other day when DC was supposed to be on, but there was some kind of technical difficulty.
Yes, sir. Well, we're glad to have you back in the fold, man.
I'm out here.
All right. Thanks, Tom. That's Tom on the Alabama One Hotline. Coming back on the other side, we'll add Hank South 247 Sports to the Alabama One Hotline right here on Tide 100.9. You're listening to the Martin Houston Show, the Sound of Alabama Sports, your show, your team.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, everything looking pretty good as we start our Thursday morning. Of course, if you do see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. Nobody does it like Townsend Nissan. They're fair, fast, with a fun family environment. They do it right. Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama One, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
The perfect place to make your escape. Golden Moon offers 600 finely appointed rooms with incredible views. Take a dip in our Vegas-style infinity pool, complete with a full-service bar and cabanas. Experience the South's premier golf destination at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, or catch the biggest sporting events at Time Out Lounge. So what are you waiting for? Come see us in Choctaw, Mississippi. Golden Moon Hotel and Casino, a Pearl River Resort property.
What makes mulch so lovable? The texture? The smell? Well, it's not just people that love mulch. Your plants do too. Retaining moisture and regulating soil temps, it's the whole package. And when you use Scott's Earth Grow or exclusive Bigero wood mulches, you can even pick the color. What's not to love? Stop in for mulch and everything else you need this season. It feels like spring at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. I want to thank our sponsors for making it possible. Of course, Alabama One Hotline open for business. Also, we have the great folks over at Overflow Express Wash, overflowexpresswash.com and southmarkdesign.com. And we have Taco Casa. Taco Casa also still part of the fold, helping us to do what we do each and every day. Go check out Taco Casa for lunch and or dinner. Taco Casa, quality, taste, value on the biggest cactus in town. And speaking of Taco Casa, we're going to be talking about a little connection to Taco Casa with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Good morning, Hank. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Martin. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, Hank. Glad to have you back with us, and we'll start off, Hank, with a little local news. I briefly just mentioned Taco Casa there. Wilkin Formby narrowed his list down to his top 5: Bama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Oklahoma. And the reason I link it to Taco Casa, he's a grandson and son of the Taco Casa family. With that narrow down of that list, what will the school be getting in Wilkin Formby?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a kid that I guess I don't want to say flew under the radar, but really kind of blew up this spring, or earlier this year. He see his stock rise on the recruiting circuit.
Yeah.
Was able to see him at the Under Armour camp in Atlanta a couple months back. Had a really good showing there, but great size, great footwork, athletic kid. I think he's pretty much the full package at the that you look for, the offensive tackle position. Just a really massive kid. He's like pushing almost 6'8". I think when I was interviewing him, I was like legitimately just like looking up, trying to talk to him, but I think best football ahead of him. I think he still has a really high ceiling at that position. So obviously his top 5, all those schools are really pushing for him. There's been people that with him kind of coming onto the recruiting ranking, or he's in the top 247 now, but when he got his Bama offer, I think he was just outside. Of course, people will ask, oh, well, does he need a camp, or is Bama waiting on some other guys? But no, he's been a top target of Alabama's, and I'm sure he's a top target of all those other 4 schools in his top 5 as well. So big time tackle target for Eric Wolf, for the new offensive line coach at Alabama, and Nick Saban, of course.
Yeah, and I had Hank, just FYI, I had the distinct privilege of coaching with Northridge and of course Wilking. I've kind of watched him grow up the last couple of years, but he has something you cannot teach, develop, or now make or invent, and that's 6'8", 300 plus pounds. So you just that just you got that, and then if you do the work, and I will say that I saw not just his ability to ramp up. To me, what you want to see, Hank, is when kids realize it and then they put in the work. He didn't. His popularity, or you said blow up, didn't just happen by happenstance. He put in the work this offseason. to get better and to get out there and to go to these camps and compete against some of the best. And so kudos to him. Couldn't happen for a better dude. So we'll keep our eye on him as a local kid and what he has going on. From a one more local kid question, and I know he's not. I don't think on Alabama's radar, but I think he's really a big time talent. Ethan Crawford from Hillcrest High School. Do you have any, you know, insight on him from what you guys have seen?
Yeah, I think he's a really talented prospect. I haven't really tracked him
Right.
from a recruiting standpoint too much, just since Bama hasn't been involved as of yet. But yeah, like you said, being a local kid, I think he has, he's got a lot of interest. He's got an offer list with Tennessee, Maryland, Kentucky, Georgia Tech. So he's gonna play at the Power 5 level somewhere. Maybe it could be a situation where Bama gets involved with him later. It's still so early in the cycle. There's kids that we're not even talking about now that are going to get offers this summer at camp. We're going to get offers in fall evals, and certainly the spring eval period has just started. So coaches are out on the road seeing these kids too. So maybe he's a guy that Bama gets involved with at a later date. But really talented kid. We have him as a 3-star quarterback in our rankings, but certainly has flashed at the high school level. So we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, and like I mean, having watched him up close and personal, and Joe, you're welcome to come in on this thought too. Having watched him at the high school level and mature from that freshman to where he is now. Of course, last year they had a different offense, so his passing skill didn't show as much. To me, he's a shorter version of Jalen Milroe, but I think he may be a more accomplished passer at the high school level than Milroe. Joe, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Hank, I'm just going to give you some, my opinion, you need to bump him up. Tell your people, give him another star. I think he's a shorter kind of Justin Fields type. Really,
yes, great.
That I've seen him, I think he's a real special. I wish Alabama would jump in on him, but I know they've got their sights on other quarterbacks, but I think he's a special player.
Yeah. Oh, hey, and you nailed it better than I did, Joe. I would say Justin Field maybe an inch or so shorter, but we'll keep our eye on it. Back to a couple of national things. Had a caller, Hank, had a question for you. We're speaking to Hank South 247 Sports Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, the question was regarding Mr. Washington out of Georgia. Darnell Washington. Have you heard any rumors in terms of him being interested in getting into the portal and or coming to Bama?
I have not, and we're also past that SEC to SEC transfer window where you play immediately. So I think that would also be.
You just said something that I'm not aware of. Okay, I know May 1st is the portal deadline, but the SEC has an earlier deadline.
I believe I don't know the exact date, but I think it already passed. Yeah, we're intra-conference transferring. I think you have to sit out a year after a certain date.
I was not aware of that. Okay.
Yeah, I think I didn't really know about it until a couple weeks ago either. We've been asking about other kids, but I believe that's the case. I'll have to dig into it a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's going to prevent a lot of kids from, obviously that's what we saw John Hall go from Bama to Texas. Not saying he would have gone somewhere else in the SEC, but I think it's making kids look elsewhere, beyond the conference too with this rule. But yeah, no, I haven't heard. There was buzz earlier in the off season. After Jermaine Burton, obviously, who else could Bama get from Georgia? They've got a stacked tight end room. They've got Eric Gilbert had the really strong spring game last weekend. We obviously we know what Brock Bowers can do. They just brought in that Oscar Delp kid that's really talented. I think he was number 1 or 2 tight end in the country. So they've got a lot of guys. So I think people are looking at that depth and saying, oh well, Bama needs tight ends, but I don't think that's going to happen at least this offseason. Who knows down the line, but so that's kind of where that's at from my knowledge.
Okay. Well, with that said, Hank, kind of talk to us about who was in town this past weekend for Alabama's A-Day game.
Yeah, it was a really big weekend. We saw the list kind of really take off midway through the week when kids started, really finalizing plans. Obviously, the big high school visitors, I think the two biggest visitors, were, probably three. Richard Young, and then, you got James Smith and Quay Rustal. And obviously, Richard Young coming from Florida, the five-star running back, second visit of the year. But with James Smith and Quay Rustal, they hadn't been on campus since January either. And they'd been to other schools, a couple times, handful of times more. And it seemed like Bama was kind of trailing a little bit in that recruitment, in those two recruitments, from outside looking in. So Bama got them on campus. They hung out with Mac Wilson. They spent the night in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. And, overall, really good visit for both of those guys. And I think Bama's right squarely back in the fold for James Smith and Quay Rustal, who probably are, Bama's two of their top defensive targets in the entire class. We saw Peter Woods back in town, Tony Mitchell. Obviously, those guys are regulars on campus, 2 5-stars from Thompson. And then the big transfer visitor on campus last weekend was Tyler Harrell, the Louisville wide receiver that's, kind of blown up the past week and a half. He entered his name in the transfer portal last week. Bama got him in on an official visit, and we actually spoke with him on Tuesday night. And, it sounds like Bama's in a really good spot for him. And, he's one of those speed guys. He's been clocked 10 times in the 4.2 40 range. He's got that elite speed, kind of game breaker ability. So, Bama's looks like they're in a good spot for him. I know Miami's really going to push for him. He's from Miami, so they want to bring him home. Georgia's been talking to him in Florida, so we'll see if he takes any other visits. But I think I think Bama impressed him a lot. Obviously, he likes the idea of having a Heisman Trophy winner throwing him passes, and his ability to contribute in the offense and what Bama's done with receivers in the last handful of years. So. That was kind of the biggest, maybe immediate impact addition. And then obviously, a lot of other guys, Vulcan Formby, of course, was on campus, Jan Pierre, the new commitment, and a bunch of other guys. So it was a big weekend, good turnout for a holiday weekend. And, I think Bama did a really good job with it.
Yeah. Hey, and I looked up the rule is you can be immediately eligible, but here's the caveat. Fall sports back February 1st, you have to declare their intent to transfer, and then winter sports is May 1st in the SEC and July 1st for spring sports. So I think Alabama's considered I think football is considered a fall sport. So they don't have to have declared their school, but they had to be in the portal by February 1st. Did not realize that. So anybody we're talking about transferring in from another SEC school would have had to been in the portal since February 1st. And chances are, if they've been there that long, we probably not. Yeah. Anyway, hey, two quick questions. What's next for Alabama on the football front? Hank, and then I got a quick basketball question for you.
Sure. Yeah. So right now, obviously spring practices have come to an end. Now it's the spring eval period where coaches back out on the road seeing kids in spring practice. Obviously, it's not where they can go talk to the kids, but it's where coaches can stop into schools, talk to the coaches, watch their practices, and kind of put their eyes on these kids ahead of summer camp. And obviously, that's a whole thing in itself. It comes June with camps and official visitors. Obviously, we'll still see kids visiting throughout the weekend leading up to the summer. But it's not going to be, those huge jam-packed visitors weekend probably that we saw throughout March and early April. So that's kind of where we're at on the recruiting front. So yeah, kind of just this period and then summer camp coming up June 1st.
All right. A basketball question, kind of comment and question. We got Mark Sears out of the portal. Have you heard anything from the Antoine Davis? Would that even be something that Bama would consider? One of the top 20. By the time he graduates, be a top 20 scorer in NCAA history. So, son of former Bama coach Davis. Any comments on him? And does the Villanova retirement of Mr. Wright potentially open up more opportunities for Bama basketball?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't not heard on Antoine Davis. I couldn't really speak on that. I don't know too much there, but never say never with a lot of the. I mean, the transfer portal, there's it's all over the place with kids. Interim, or new offers going out and all that kind of stuff. So I'll have to dig a little bit more. On that.
He averages over 20. He's averaged over 24 points a game since his freshman year, and he shoots in the high 30s from a three. So it seems like a guy that would fit, the mold here, and low turnover ratio and all of that. And then of course having some Bama ties, I thought that may be interesting. So any other activity like from Jay Wright, and you think that may generate anything, or any other activity you're hearing about Bama around the portal in basketball with us listening to him?
Yeah, they're still on the hunt. Obviously, we saw Mark Sears come on board, and Jalen Bridges took an official visit last weekend, and then he went straight to Baylor for an official visit and committed to Baylor after the visit. So that's kind of one guy off the list. So kind of seeing where they're going at this point. Obviously they've got spots to fill, so we're going to see more additions. And yeah, Jay Wright, that's big news. I'm not sure kind of what their commitment list looks like, or guys that might be looking elsewhere with him leaving. That I think it's so fresh. I think guys are still kind of digesting that news. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, that's massive college basketball news. Probably one of the best ever coaches stepping down kind of all of a sudden. So we'll have to see kind of what turns out of that.
Yeah, that's a conversation I'll probably kick the can on and talk about at some point. Jay Wright's job and where that Villanova job ranks, and he's the type of coach. If you're a basketball player, you choose that school because of him and the success they've had, not because of the name and the brand. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then CJ Watson was giving me that skinny on it. They've already named Fordham's head coach Kyle Neptune, so a name that maybe the basketball world knows, but I don't. So anyway, Hank, tell us what you got coming up, man.
Yeah, just still got visitor recaps. We're tracking the coaches on the road and visitors coming up. So certainly a good time. BamaOnline.com, and my Twitter handle is @HankSouth247.
Hey, the best follow in recruiting @HankSouth247. If you want to stay in the know, stay in the loop, go check out Hank South. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Hey, guys, we're going to get out of here a little early today. We want to thank Alabama One Insurance for their support of the Martin Houston Show. Alabama One Insurance, your one source for all your insurance needs. We have many carriers that we can do the shopping for you. We're an independent full-service agency, and we'll do the shopping for you. Go to our website and enter your information and request a quote there, or call 205-342-0112, or just stop by our main branch off of 15th Street, Veteran Memorial Parkway, and we'll get that quote issued for you. We'll review your policy, reduce your premium, and you'll be able to relax knowing you're properly covered. Hey, on tomorrow, we're going to talk about this transfer portal, deal, no deal, coming up. Bama has 23 in the portal at some point, and then another 16 on the roster. Quantity versus quality. That'll be part of the conversation when it comes to the portal. For Joe Gaither, Martin Houston, the Martin Houston Show, the Sound About My Sports, your show, your team. Hey, and all the caller, listeners, chatters, viewers, and guests, thank you for being a part of the program. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9.
That was good with Joe. Thanks, man.
100.9 Tide 100.